Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Chris. Today, I am delighted to be joined by, I'd call him the king of recruitment, and that is Luke Plain, founder of Fulfilled Talents. They're all about frictionless e-commerce recruitment, helping you scale your e-commerce business with remarkable talent. As always, this broadcast is brought to you in association with our charity partner, 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗶𝘁, who are a local charity that help people affected by cancer. Luke, good afternoon. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you. What a wonderful introduction by yourself. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and I'm much better for seeing your branded attire. Can I just have a quick? We did see it offline. Can you give everyone a bit of a wave with your beanie hat that we saw earlier?
Yeah, I feel a bit Home Alone-esque, to be fair, but
that's brilliant.
If you want for a second.
Yeah, go on then. Brilliant.
It is quiet.
It is the day for it. It is the day.
It's cold. It is cold, man.
Luke, I bring you live onto LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube today to talk to you about something that's been bugging me for a while now. I went to a networking event, fantastic networking event at the back end of last year called the Norfolk Director Magazine event. It was at the Forum in Norwich. And one of the conversation points was recruitment and how businesses were really struggling to hire top tier talent. And I thought, aha, I know the man to broadcast some wisdom and insights into this area. How can you use social, Luke, to hire and attract these A players, this top tier talent? Because I am so frustrated that business owners still don't use social as a recruitment tool as much as they should. But I'm interested to get your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I personally think that if you're using socials to post your roles, the only way you're going to get engagement from talent, and ideally, as you say, top tier talent, is I think by doing a hell of a lot of good stuff before those jobs go online. So I know you talk a lot about social and making sure that like branding is on point as well. So what we always talk about at Fulfilled is your employer brand strong? And if your employer brand isn't strong enough, you'll never be able to attract strong talent. And what I mean by that is being able to showcase to your audience that you're a great business to work for, that you look after your staff properly, as simple as that sounds, that you're looking after your staff properly, you're giving like good benefits, good flexibility, good career progression. I would also caveat all this, obviously, with it's not always about the employer giving everything to the employee, and there's got to be some give and take, obviously. But from a business point of view, I think that there should be a hell of a lot more done and can be done to attract that talent. A lot of it will come down to employer brand, telling your story properly, to be able to get in front of that right talent in the marketplace.
So, Luke, I know at Fulfilled you work with obviously all of those A players and the talent that you're bringing into those modern forward-thinking businesses that you work with. In your opinion, what do you think they're looking for on social media? Because surely gone are the days now where you're chucking an Indeed link up and you kind of hope for the best, or dare I say, just post it as a LinkedIn job and get 1,000,001 applicants. How can businesses do that better?
A broad one, to be fair. I think there's tons of things you can do. I think a lot of companies they're great at maybe shouting about the wins they've had or things they are doing within their team or what have you. But I think for me, like going back to like the e-com side that we mainly focus on, you touched on it brilliantly recently in the post you did in regards to user-generated content. So if a brand is selling a really good product and they get their consumers to talk about their product online, that will then drive more engaged, long-term, repeat customers. So that should be used within the same analogy as what you're doing with recruitment and your team. So not just putting a camera in front of an employee and saying, give us a 10-second clip about why you love working here and being forced into it. If the team generally love what they're doing, and they are outwardly getting involved in socials, in events, in going to networking events. If they're doing more than just coming to work, working 9 to 5 and going home, that would be a way of getting this top tier talent probably to at least want to look at what you're doing. And I think the other side to it is LinkedIn jobs are great. Like, you will get a ton of people reply for it, but you'll get best way of putting this, you'll get a mix of applications. And I think if you're if you want to make sure you get the right talent, you've got to make sure that your LinkedIn persona, or whatever your channel is through socials. I use LinkedIn predominantly because that is probably where the right talent might be that you're trying to attract. You've got to do more than just post a job, post a LinkedIn ad, hope that one video a year will do enough to keep your potential employee and prospective employees engaged. As you say, there's a lot of really good people on LinkedIn who talk about the good, the bad, the ugly of running agencies and companies, the ups and downs. I think the best businesses that I've seen have usually got leaders at the front who aren't just outwardly saying that how exceptional they are as a person,
yes,
and how great they must be to work for. They're actually giving real heartfelt support to their team, and then their team are actually genuinely getting involved and interacting with that content because they do care. And I think that comes down to that.
Luke, I think you touched on a brilliant point there, and I'll definitely we'll come back to that. But you've sparked a very, very important point I want to cover there. And they won't mind me sharing this. I was recently consulting with 𝗖𝗵𝗁𝗶𝗀𝗲 actually on their organic social activity, and they were also saying, look, Chris, we want to attract the top tier talent, right? So how do we do that? And one of the ideas that we came up with was, why don't we come up with a mini series where their team do a day in the life of, and that was content that lived on TikTok, it lived on Instagram, and it was put out on the other platforms too. And lo and behold, what you do there, Luke, is you almost leave like breadcrumbs for these A players to find, to go, oh, that's cool. Because what you can do at that point is you can really see what I would call under the bonnet of a business, because it's all very well and good, like, you know, broadcast, perfectly polished posts. But I think now in this era of social media that we're in, those A players want to see more, but they actually want to feel it from the people within the business, right? Those A players that you've already hired. Is that fair? Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's not just about them businesses, like the managers or the directors doing those videos and getting involved. It's all about it's everyone. It's that person who's on their first week of their job, like talking about how they've been onboarded.
Yeah, brilliant.
That is, if anything, one of the biggest things that people get wrong is actually onboarding people properly and actually feeling like they're joining like a family, really. Let's be honest. Like, I know as corny as that sounds, and like, it'll get like, you know, I'll probably get ripped for that. But I think generally, if you are doing the onboarding process properly, you've done an amazing interview process. Like, I guess, go back one more step. You've attracted these top tier talent.
Yeah.
You've got them to meet you. And if that first interview is just you as a company talking about why you are so great and why you should want to come work here, and not about what can we offer you, then you've done all that great work up front, then you're just going to ruin it straight away. And then if you get that interview process right, and then you onboard them poorly, like, and all that work you've done pre is also worth nothing. So I think there's a huge aspect we can probably get involved in, Chris, but maybe don't have all the time to do it.
Well, I'll touch on something, Luke. I'll touch on something there. Again, a brilliant point, actually. And maybe I'm wrong, so correct me if I am. I feel like sometimes A players or top tier talent are almost a bit apprehensive to make that jump, to actually join a new business. And so actually the shiny Indeed application, everything looks good, all the benefits are on there, but actually you've touched upon some absolute gold there, Luke. Why not use social to actually talk about the onboarding process? I think that's genius, because people want to know that they're going to feel looked after when they join, not just, right, there you go, there's your welcome pack, there's your computer, off you go. And I think that's such a good point. I really, really do. Luke, I want to then move to the direct. You mentioned them, the MDs, the directors, and this is something that I was preaching in this network event. I was saying, look, guys, managing directors, they need to be telling their story, broadcasting their business journey, because that's attractive to A players, isn't it? They want to feel like a part of a mission, a company that's, you know, got a purpose. It's got a backstory. Is that something you would agree with?
Yes, I think I would say as an answer to that. I think
you can say no too, by the way. You're allowed to.
No. I'll say no. It definitely is true, but I think I've been a recruiter for 10 years now. You've done social for a long time as well, and there's people who've been in it for longer than us as well, maybe watching this. I remember there being a director who used to have used to be like followed around and have like kits made up of them and stuff. And people who then knew about that and watched it realized that actually the two, i.e. the person in the videos, were two very different realities. So I think the difficult, and there's that, and then there's tons more around it. But I think if you are going to use your social media as a director or an owner or a founder to try and attract people, I don't think it would be around like why should you join us because of what we're doing. Again, get your team, because let's be honest, like your team is far more important than that person sitting in their office or out doing the meetings, because yes, they've driven the business to where they are at that point, but the team are the one delivering day in, day out. And so, yes, I think that's why I hesitate a little bit answering your question. Yes, definitely directors should do more and could do more, but they then shouldn't feel like their content is just being about, well, I'm so great.
No,
so absolutely that blend.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I think actually, that's interesting. What I mean, Luke, is actually broadcasting that team element from a managing director perspective, from a founder perspective. And we'll give him a shout out. Someone that does this brilliantly is Nathan Lomax of Quickfire. He does a great job of talking about his business journey, you know, making sure that the team are at the forefront of that, being super vulnerable. My real bugbear, Luke, is so many managing directors don't do anything on LinkedIn. They don't do anything on LinkedIn. They just sit there, you know, so the LinkedIn company page is attached to their personal page. They could be seen as the founder, but they don't realize just how important it is, because, you know, you'll know this better than most people, Luke, of course, is that people tend to quit jobs because of the managers, not because of the actual company, right? And so if you can give an insight into what you're like as a director, I think that's absolute gold. So it's definitely something to consider. What do you think?
Yes, again, agreed. And I think, Nathan does a fantastic job of it. And I think the big thing about what I'm lucky enough to know Nathan up a couple of years now, and what you see is what you get on those socials, and what you then see when he's like hosting these like big events he does as well is the same person who's not afraid to tell someone straight up what he thinks, or to give praise with it. And there isn't like I say, it's not like putting on a cloak in front of someone and then like pretending for someone else, then taking it off when you walk off. Like Nathan's just that like all the time, and I don't know how he does it, but he generally does it very well. I mean, like the consistent part of what he does is so good. Going back to what you talked about with like Price Bailey, and obviously, I guess they're trying to find like audit talent, which is in general, like trying to find like good auditors is a really tough gig to do anyway. And usually the reason that people struggle to find these A-listers or this top tier talent, however you want to phrase it, is where they're currently working at, where they're currently employed are, they realize how good those people are. So they're so well looked after that they usually aren't then looking for jobs. And those people are never going to look on Indeed to try and find a job. The reason that those people will look to find a new role is usually they have been promised something that then doesn't come to fruition. or maybe they have been in, like, over time slowly got excited about what another accountancy practice is doing, or the guys at Trainer Grandad have done a video recently for a law firm recently, like the day in the life of, and that's probably shown them in a completely different light. Not just making us all about professional services locally, but there are a number of like law firms around here and accounts practices around Norfolk who have tried to do things differently to not just attract new talent, but engage in new business, ways to improve their own revenue, improve profits. Like, it shouldn't just be about, obviously from a recruiting point of view, of course, I want people recruiting, who keeps me in business and keeps me able to keep growing my business. But if you're doing the social properly, these profitable organizations will keep getting bigger because they're doing things properly as well.
So true. It's like a cycle, isn't it, Luke? Because so many people aren't doing this at all. And actually, if they just broadcast what they're about with their team, with their people, with their culture on social, you're actually going to sell more products and services, because whether it's B2B or B2C, people will like the fact that they're buying something where the team is getting looked after, right? You see all of those horror stories where, you know, some of these brands and, you know, the people behind the scenes and how poor the culture is and things like that. And so it can really help for sales as well. I'm really pleased that you brought that up. I think the thing for me, Luke, is, and the real point I want to get across here, feel free to positively challenge, as I like to say, I think businesses need to have a people and culture related post every week. They need to, because I feel like far too many businesses, no matter what shape and size, they wait until they have a role to fill, then they put it out on social media, poorly, by the way. And actually, that's something that they should be doing all the time. Again, agree, disagree?
I guess if like I was doing that whole up, put a glass on, like strongly agree,
Yeah,
sort of. I'd probably be like in an agree aspect, like maybe not strongly, don't disagree, but agree.
Okay.
I think the flip of all social, which again you might tell me that I'm wrong here, is there's no point just posting stuff for the sake of posting stuff. Like, you've got a clear plan as to why you're posting this. So I don't mind the idea of like a weekly people and culture or whatever that might look like, but it's got to be like of interest. Like, it's got to get engagement. Like, if you're just posting it, getting one like out, if you've got, you know, if your company page has got a couple hundred followers, like, you're not really going to get much engagement out of that one post. So you've got to keep doing it. You've got to actually get people wanting to follow you. And that's what good businesses will do, that as well. They'll drive those opportunities. People still believe that followers on LinkedIn company pages are a myth, and actually it's paid for. But I think if you drive good brand awareness, you'll grow that properly. You're nodding because I'm guessing, yeah. He didn't give me that prompt. He didn't even give me that prompt either. That's just learning. But I think if you're posting through company or individual LinkedIn profiles, it's got to be content that is actually going to get people engaged within.
Yeah,
because you see some great people post some absolute gumph and get nothing. You post some people who just like say as it is, who just say, "God, like end of 2023 was the worst time of my life. Like, we couldn't close a deal, we couldn't do this, like blah 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 blah." And that, like, what I've found from being in e-commerce for the last sort of 7 or 8 months, it's starting in July of 23, is the word collaboration is huge. And I think if you as a business are partnering with businesses, other businesses, and doing it properly, the positive impact by doing like really strong engagement with that partner will be what drives those opportunities. And it goes back to that full cycle. Like, if you do it properly, those top tier talent will want to engage, and they'll see, actually, okay, I'm stagnating here, I need that next step.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolute gold. And you mentioned that word there, engage, and that's the other issue, I think, for a lot of people, is they fling job posts out and they're not giving them a chance. because they're using static images, or dare I say, just post with copy with no image. And one of the things that I think more people should do, and maybe with a recruitment partner yourself, Luke, is doing a video on the role and actually having the director or the hiring manager with the recruitment team, or the HR manager or whoever it is, talking about the role that's available. Why is it an attractive role? What are the company benefits? But doing it as a video, because it will stand so much more chance of being engaged with, rather than just flinging it out and hoping for the best. So I think that's something that I would definitely recommend. Luke, I'm so aware of time, and Fulfilled Talent are so busy already, smashing it. So I don't want to waste any more of it. But what I want to hear from you now, Luke, is 3 top tips. What would you recommend to any business owner, founder, hiring manager, HR professional that wants to attract top tier talent when it comes to social media? How can you set your stall out well? What would maybe just 1 or 2? I've said 3. Give me 1 or 2.
Oh God, yeah. Well, you covered quite a lot of them. I think like the best companies don't hire reactively. They'll hire because they plan to hire. So I think if you are planning, if you're in that sort of SLT team and you're sitting in that room and you know, okay, this year our retained model has gone from X to Y, we need these many new heads. If you can, I think it's probably just a 1, but for like a few little subsectors within that 1. I think if you as a team can come together and say, okay, like Q1, this is the first hire we need. Let's work backwards from that about how we're going to find that person. And it's always worthwhile posting the job, because you'll get brand awareness around that. But that's not enough. I definitely think like the idea of doing videos is definitely worthwhile. But again, I think the content has got to be decent enough for people wanting to engage for that 20, 30 seconds. And then like I think if you're in that world, you need to recruit, and maybe you've struggled, or what the guys like Fountain used to do really well is they used to engage with my old business R13 really well, because what they wanted was the clear plan of their hiring structure and how they can do it. So I think if you're going to do it properly and you're going to partner with someone, like make it a recruitment partner who you actually trust and actually going to listen and go out there and sell your business to that top tier talent properly. Because I think if you try and do it all direct, so you'll get a certain piece of the market, but it'll always be a big untapped market that you won't be able to get in front of unless you partner with someone, or you know someone who knows someone.
Luke, I asked for 3 top tips and I got 18. I think that's Luke, thank you so much for your time today, mate. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you as well. Thanks for having me.
And for all of those of you that are interested in Luke's world, particularly if you are in the e-commerce space, that's key, e-commerce space, whether you're an A player, a top piece of top tier talent, or you are a modern forward-thinking business that wants to hire the very best talent, go and check out Luke, go and connect with him, go and see the Fulfilled Talent website. As always as well, this Coffee with Chris broadcast has been in association with Big C, who help local people affected by cancer. Thanks for watching and have a lovely weekend.